The grey morning sky over the North Atlantic seemed to press down on everything. The waves, the clouds, and the four tired men of the B-24 Black Swan as she droned low over the heaving ocean. The 8th Air Force was famous for its bomber raids over Germany, but thousands of miles to the west, another fight raged silently, relentlessly, the Battle of the Atlantic. And here, in the endless cold of open water, the U.S. Army Air Forces had become hunters. Lieutenant Jack Alden, pilot of the Black Swan, rubbed his eyes. They'd been airborne for 9 hours, tracing a long arc over shipping lanes haunted by German U-boats. The ocean below looked empty, but Jack knew better. The Germans were out there somewhere, slipping through the swells like steel wolves. Anything? Jack asked, flicking his gaze toward the right seat. No joy, replied his co-pilot, Lieutenant Eddie Rowan, leaning forward against his harness. Just more water. In the waist section, Sergeant Collins, the starboard gunner, tapped his headset. Skipper, radar's picking up something faint. Could be weather, could be a ghost, could be, well, something else. Jack straightened. The Black Swan carried an advanced ASV radar set, but it was finicky, especially in bad weather. Bearing 085, range about 20 miles. Blinking in and out. Eddie grinned. Ghost or not? That's the first excitement we've had all day. Jack banked the big Liberator gently. All right, boys, let's check it out. They descended through low cloud, the ocean rising up angry and restless. The smell of salt filled the cabin through the vents. For a long moment there was nothing but grey and churning waves, then skip. Sergeant Harris, the port waist gunner, hissed into the intercom. 12 o'clock low, wake trail. Something big moving down there. Jack's heartbeat kicked up. I see it. A thin V-shaped disturbance carved the surface. Too straight, too constant, too controlled to be a whale or drifting debris. It was a submarine. A German U-boat. Jesus, Eddie whispered. She's cruising just below the surface. And if they'd been a minute earlier or later, they never would have seen it. Crew, stand by for attack run, Jack said, his voice steady but electric. The U-boat commander must have realized he'd been spotted. The wake changed shape, turning sharply, as the submarine began a crash dive. She's going under! Collins shouted. Jack pushed the yoke forward. Not fast enough. The Black Swan thundered down, engines howling, spray from the ocean licking the fuselage as they skimmed barely 200 feet above the waves. The bomb bay doors clunked open, shuddering in the slipstream. Inside, the depth charges waited, fat, deadly cylinders built for this one purpose. Steady, steady. Eddie murmured. Jack lined up on the fading wake, compensating for wind, drift, and the sub's desperate turn. The U-boat's conning tower flashed into view for an instant before slipping beneath the water. The Germans were seconds from safety. Now, Jack barked. The bombs dropped. 4 depth charges tumbled cleanly, splashing into the sea in quick succession. Jack yanked the B-24 into a steep climb, spray exploding behind them. The ocean below detonated. Great white plumes erupted in a line, throwing sheets of water skyward. The Black Swan shook violently as the shockwaves slammed into it. Eddie looked down, eyes wide. Did we hit her? Wait, Collins whispered. The sea churned violently where the charges had gone off. Then a massive burst of dark bubbles boiled to the surface. A moment later, debris floated up, splintered wood, metal fragments, and black oil spreading in a widening stain. Harris exhaled shakily. That's a kill, Skipper, Eddie said softly. We just got a U-boat, but Jack wasn't celebrating yet. Keep eyes open. Sometimes they play dead. The Liberator circled. The oil slick grew. More debris surfaced. No counterattack, no flak. No movement at all, it was over. They had destroyed a U-boat in a single pass. Holy hell, Collins breathed. That was clean. Too clean, Eddie grinned nervously. Lucky is what it was. Jack shook his head. Luck doesn't drop depth charges on target. That was the crew. But as they climbed back toward patrol altitude, the weather thickened. The clouds closed in, thunder rumbled. Radar flickered. Within minutes, they were flying blind. Skipper, we're losing the beacon, Eddie said. Navigation's all screwed. Sergeant Lorne, the navigator, cursed softly. Stormfront came in fast. I can't get a fix. Drift estimates are shot to hell. Jack tightened his harness. All right. We'll ride it out. Keep us level. Lightning cracked across the sky. Rain hammered the fuselage. The plane shook in violent turbulence. The Black Swan struggled like a wounded bird, engines 2 and 3 running hot, the flight engineer warned. Then the worst happened. Static ripped through the radio, and the direction finder needle spun uselessly. They were lost. Any chance of clearing? Jack asked. Lorne shook his head. Storm stretches for at least 200 miles. No way through. And fuel's getting low. Jack exhaled. They'd killed a submarine, only to risk killing themselves in the storm. Hours passed. The crew grew silent. Each man knew the danger. The North Atlantic swallowed aircraft whole. Rescue was a fantasy.
Slow down up
then
there.
Collins
Keep it quiet.
shouted, "Skipper, large ship, 9 o'clock low." Jack banked immediately.
No, we got movement on
There,
the left.
through the rain, moved the unmistakable silhouette of a convoy escort, a British destroyer slicing through the storm. Jack whooped. "Hang on, boys. We just found our ticket home." He dipped their wings toward the ship in a deliberate signal. The destroyer fired 2 red flares, an
Nozzle
acknowledgement.
secured, ready for
Fuel
flow.
at minimum, Eddie warned. "We've got minutes left." Jack brought
Roger
the Black
that.
Swan
Opening
down
the
until
valve.
the altimeter nearly touched 0. The destroyer sent up semaphore flags, signaling their identity and heading. Lorne scribbled furiously. "Course
Hit it again,
210
right
will
there.
take us home, but..." "Jack, we're almost dry.
right,
We've
hold
got one
steady."
shot," Jack said. "Let's go." The Liberator roared into the storm once more, following the heading. The clouds parted slightly, just enough for the sun to peek through. Eddie smiled. "I'll take that as a sign." Miles crawled by.
Open fire.
Then, "Land!" Harris shouted. "I see
Cease
land."
fire. Scan the perimeter.
Jack's heart thumped.
Keep firing.
The runway
Reverse
materialized
left,
through the
40
gray.
degrees.
Men on the ground pointed upward as the battered B-24 limped in. "Skipper," Eddie said quietly as the engine sputtered. "You'd better put her down now." Jack lowered the gear, 3 green lights. Good enough.
Move up, keep
The Black
moving.
Swan
Watch
touched
the
down
left
hard,
flank.
bouncing once before settling, engines coughing to a dying halt halfway down the strip. They had made it. With barely fumes in the tanks, they had brought the Liberator home. As ground crews rushed forward, the intelligence officer waved a clipboard. "We picked up a distress call from a convoy escort. Said they saw your attack. Confirmed kill. U-boat
All right, let's
612.
move out. Stay
Congratulations,
tight on the
boys. You just shut down an
Remember that
entire
building on the
Wolfpack
right.
corridor." Jack nodded, suddenly exhausted.
All right, let's move out.
Later that
Stay
night,
tight on the
after the
Sherman.
debriefing, the crew gathered outside the hangar. The storm had passed. Stars glimmered over the Black Sea. Eddie nudged Jack. "One pass," he said. "Just one." Jack shook his head. It wasn't one pass. It was everyone. Lorne's plot, Collins's radar call, Harris spotting the wake. Every man. That's how we survive.
We're
out
holding
here.
steady on course,
Collins
Captain.
chuckled. "Hell,
Confirmed.
Skipper, that's how
Keep
we
an
live
eye on
out
that
here."
number 3 manifold
But
pressure.
beneath the humor lay something heavier, something only men who'd hunted
the
shadows
manifold
on the
pressure
open
on
ocean
engine 3.
could understand.
Reading low.
They had fought an
adjusting the
enemy
throttle
they
now.
never saw clearly.
Keep her steady.
They had killed men who never saw them coming.
Fertig.
And they had survived only because
Pumpe
fate
aus.
allowed it.
Tankdeckel
Jack
gesichert.
looked toward the sea. "We got them today," he said softly.
Tank
"Tomorrow,
ist voll. Ventil
someone
schließen.
else takes a turn." The crew fell quiet. The North Atlantic was a graveyard of ships, of U-boats, of aircraft,
Hier,
but
das
also of
Ventil ist
fear
locker.
and
Jawohl.
courage, shared equally on both sides.
Nimm diesen Schlüssel.
None of them celebrated the kill. Not really.
We need
They
more
respected
leverage on
it,
this
understood
bolt.
it, accepted it. War at sea was
Wait, the
different.
manual says to check the
Invisible,
fuel line
relentless,
first.
personal in a way no one on land
Just
could
try to
grasp.
rest, you're doing fine.
And yet, they had stopped a
We need to
U-boat.
monitor this closely.
They had saved
Hand
the
me that
convoy.
suture kit.
They had lived. Eddie broke the silence.
all right, you're safe
So
with
what
us now.
now, Skipper?
Vitals
Jack
look
smiled
stable,
faintly.
but we're running
Same
low on
as always,
supplies over
boys.
here.
He gestured toward
I'm
the
on it.
sleeping hulks of 4-engine bombers
Männer,
resting in the
gut,
moonlight. We go back up
Ist
there.
drin, Herr
And we
Unteroffizier.
keep the
Feuer.
sea lanes open. One patrol at a time. The Black Swan flew
Los,
11 more
schneller.
missions before
In
war's
Stellung.
end. She
Fertig
never found
geladen.
another submarine. She never needed to. Her legend came from one perfect run, one moment of skill and courage, when a weary Liberator crew destroyed a hidden enemy with a single, flawless pass. And in the endless annals of the Atlantic War, their story remained a rarity, a victory witnessed by none, accomplished by few, and remembered by all who knew how lethal and lonely that ocean truly was.